Hold on. Do you move the Macca's bag? You just drag it to the side. That. Just put it on the floor. I'll still eat it later. No, I can definitely see it now. The evidence of my poor diet.
Yeah, that's right. I just ordered pizza before we went live.
Oh, high five. High five. So did I.
Yeah, so it's going to be waiting out in the lounge for me when we finished.
I literally have no shame. I'm just going to eat that later. Bless you. Thank you. Can't wait to eat my cold wrap. Oh, juicy. I do have my drink though. Yes.
Do you want to turn your webcam off and on again, see if we can get your, because at the moment your camera is like delayed.
Oh, okay. Aspetta. BRB. Okay, off. And I'll come back on again. How's that?
It's still slightly delayed, but I think it's workable.
I'll just speak really slowly.
It almost works. It almost works.
Awesome.
It's so weird. Oh, apparently we are live.
Oh, are we? So
I don't know if we're live, but I don't know if we're live, but
did that whole sort of.
Oh no, we're live.
We are live, and I'm not sure if you caught that great entrance or charade that Kitty did, but if not, you really did miss out on a lot. Phid and I certainly saw it, but anyway, let's get right to it. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful session of GGWP Academy, your zero to hero platform for aspiring creators. My name is Mika, by the way, and I will be your host for this evening. So thank you all to those tuning in live, and for those tuning in a little later, an advance thank you to you guys. As you guys know, GGWP Academy equips the next generation of gamers with tools to start building their empire, and we give you answers to the things you won't find in any textbook or you can't even Google. So tonight we are talking about the very topic that led you to consider this career path, money. But that's simplifying it. That's oversimplifying it. It's not just about the money. It's more about your value and how exactly you put a price on something as abstract as your value. So joining me tonight are senior PR and influencer specialist Kitty Korea from Gaming, and influencer marketing specialist and business development manager of GGWP Academy itself, Phid Oldfield. Hey guys, thank you so much. Despite the
I think that might be the first time anybody's used my real last name on Twitch, by the way.
Oh, well, wait, your real last name is Makasam, right?
Hey.
That's real. That's your real last name. Don't question him about it. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. Despite all of the technical and door difficulties, don't ask, or maybe do ask, and we might answer it a little later on. But in the meantime, let's get to our first question. So, in your opinion or experience, what is the average time it takes for a content creator to go from, starting from the ground up, from zero to monetization, and eventually working with brands?
Did you want to take us first, Kitty, or do you want me to go? Okay, we're good. Okay, so this it massively varies, right? So I have personally seen people like really grind for 2 to 3 years before they crack it, find that formula that is the right formula for them, and start really making a difference. But then you see some amazing people who are just huge personalities. They're doing amazing things, and they just blow up overnight. I've seen it globally, and I've seen it here domestically here in Australia and New Zealand, which is predominantly where I've worked for the last few years. And it massively varies depending on whether what you're doing sort of resonates with the audience fast. It's just resonating with that audience, whether it's you're humorous, whether you're entertaining, whether you're good at what you do, or whether you're just an amazing person that plays games really well. But it just changes depending on who you are, right?
I just took myself off mute. Love the feature on this mic. So, very much mimicking what Phid said. I've seen people become partners
Mm.
literally within the very small time frame that it takes in path to partner. They've smashed out affiliate and then they've become partners. Where I've seen amazing content creators who are really consistent, they just really struggle to kind of crack those concurrents and the achievements needed to hit partner. And that, again, could take 1 year, 2 years. There's some amazing talent we've seen who literally overnight have
Mm.
just become, well known Australian, New Zealand streamers. And as Fid said, it's really about your personality, because if you can really hook onto people's, they hook onto your personality
Mm.
and you create a community and they just are drawn to you, then you're just going to soar right through.
See, I'm instantly thinking of first person that comes to mind of someone who just went off like a rocket was Paladin Amber when she first hit the scene, and it
Yep.
was just the right person at the right time. She's got an amazing sense of humor, but she just did amazing things straight off the bat, and strapped a rocket to her, and she did amazing.
Yeah.
But in saying that, that's not taking anything away from those people that have been grinding, and
Mhm.
sometimes it takes people a bit longer to find what resonates with audiences. There's no secret formula, right?
Right. And I think, like, the biggest takeaway that I got from that is, it differs. It really differs. Each and every streamer's
Mm.
journey kind of differs, and it even varies from country to country. We've talked a lot about what goes on in Australia or New Zealand, but have you had experience, seeing this kind of growth rate or arc in other countries?
Yeah, definitely, and it's the one thing that I've noticed is like while you get your more Western countries like New Zealand, Australia, the US, and UK, it's very talent based, so it's more personality and all that sort of thing. But what I have noticed is your more Asian countries and Eastern countries tend to have a bit more focus on gameplay and competitiveness and things like that. So, they'll sit there and watch an 8 hour stream of someone who's absolutely amazing at PUBG. Whereas you notice in the Western countries, it does tend to be more personality focused, and that would be the only defining difference I would say, though. But you also get the outliers as well in those, like someone like a Shroud in the US who literally can play any first-person shooter and be the best player in the world at it within 12 hours of that game coming out. And I would argue that he's not the greatest personality on Twitch, but he's amazing to watch.
100%. And I think you'll notice that Australia, we're still in our infancy. We are growing, but we have a lot of space to grow into, which is exciting. And I
Definitely.
think we will definitely be able to grow into that as we look to, Southeast Asia, North America, who are really, trailblazing. And hopefully Australia and New Zealand, we can get right up there too in the future.
Yeah, and I think with the support locally that Twitch and YouTube and Facebook are all providing now at a local level here in this region, it's going to help that as well. Like all those other regions have had local support for a wee while, and now that we've got local support, we're able to see these streamers getting support from the platforms and not just from the likes of us that work with brands and agencies who we've sort of been the de facto support for content creators in the last few years. And it's nice to be able to share that load a wee bit.
Right. And speaking of brands and agencies, what is the minimum standard in terms of like reach and ability that you would say a creator is ready to work with a brand, start reaching out, start getting that leverage in?
Look, it really depends on the brand. massively depends on the brand. You do get some that really love working with the upstart and up and coming talent, and I personally love working with upcoming talent. It's something I've done with some of the bigger brands and been able to build some really great campaigns around those up and coming brands. And it's awesome because as the brand grows in the gaming world, the talent comes up with it, and you get this awesome, genuine love of the brand and genuine love of the content creator that's associated to that brand. Um, so yeah, it does really depend on the brand.
I'm having a good chuckle because there really is no cookie cutter response to this. Depending on the campaign and the client, we
Yeah,
might have the opportunity
and
to
budget.
work with and budget. We might have the opportunity to work with, which I have in the past, and I've
Mm,
internally fangirled so hard, is, big Australian and New Zealand talent,
mm,
which is incredible. But then we also get these really awesome, awe-inspiring moments
mm.
where we get to work with more nano grassroots talent,
Yeah,
and that's a fantastic experience because then you can help them alongside with the brand to kickstart their journey into the industry. And that's a pretty powerful thing. And that influencer will remember that.
100%. I want to back up exactly what you just said. Like, and as somebody that works with brands and brings them together, there's no feeling like being that first brand or first person to reach out to a content creator and give them that first opportunity as well. Like, you know, the bigger talent, they do appreciate all the work that comes to them, but you just don't get that same reaction as when you contact an upcoming content creator that you've gone, you're the next big thing. I want to support what you're doing, and you could get in touch with them, and they're just like, oh my god, me, you've noticed. Yeah, and
Right.
there's no. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling as the person on the other side being able to give that first deal to someone.
And the content that they generate is just, I feel, so genuine.
Hundred.
It's so much more genuine. They have such a fresh take on it, and I love everything that you guys said, just because it's a great reminder that everybody is really on their own journey, and you can't just say, okay, I'm gonna land this brand, this huge brand over here through streaming and everything, when you're not even sure what exactly the brand's goals are. You
Yeah.
might not be a fit for the current campaign. Maybe next year you might be.
Mm,
Things shift so quickly, and esports and gaming, it is quite a new industry as well. So I think even big brands, traditional companies who still run traditional campaigns, are still getting used to this as well.
yeah.
So over to our next question. What is your top tip for growing an audience? I know that a lot of starting streamers, for them, seeing that viewer count hit the double digits is such feels like such a victory.
Yep.
And you order yourself a great pizza, and you have a little cake for yourself once you hit those double digits. And for the longest time, maybe it's a few months before you get past like one viewer, and that one viewer might be yourself as well on another device, checking your stream. So how exactly can you grow and reach out to your audience more?
Look, there's multiple different ways of doing this, and I think I don't think we're either me or Kitty are going to be able to give a complete answer here, but we could probably give a few tips, right? And I think one that I'm going to give is get on social, get involved in the community. Um, uh, I have met people that are Twitch streamers who are like, why do I need to be on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok or whatever? I'm a Twitch streamer. I'm not a social media influencer. Well, I'm sorry. If you want to be at a point where you're starting to grow, you do need to look at all those platforms, and you need to be actively using them. You don't just use it for saying I'm going live now. Like, actually get in there, put some time aside every day to tweet some stuff out. Look, you may even want to start planning out, and if you're not that sort of person that picks up your phone every couple of hours to check Twitter, maybe you want to schedule some stuff and then come back and check it later. But get involved in the gaming community. Follow other gamers, follow brands, follow other Twitch streamers, follow your favorite Twitch streamers. Um, That would be my number one first step. Get your social right.
I very much agree with this. So, when you are looking to grow, you really need to consider yourself as your own brand. And
Uh-huh.
when you think about what brands do is they're consistent with their social posting, they are outreaching to the community constantly, and that's how you need to treat your brand because that's what you are and that's what you want to portray yourself as. So, I know there's several free scheduling programs you can use for social media. Canva, I know some
Oh,
graphic designers will cringe,
Love
yeah,
but
Canva.
but
Love
look,
Canva.
Canva,
it's cheap and it works.
it's
And
fantastic.
And might I
And
add, like, it
Mhm.
is actually the secret weapon of a lot of big social media companies. They will never admit that, but they do use it.
100%. So, really, when you are thinking of growing, put yourself even read a marketing textbook and you'll all probably laugh, but I did marketing at
Mm,
university and a lot that I learnt wasn't applicable at the time because digital marketing where wasn't where it is now. But read a marketing textbook, do a SWOT analysis, look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats, in the current stream world and see where you best fit in and just start mapping out your journey.
100%. The other thing that you see a lot of people doing is chasing that big next thing. And it's usually like we saw it with Fortnite. Everybody started playing Fortnite and then they jump to the next big game or whatever. And look, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. If you're enjoying playing that game, you go and play the shit out of that game. But Um, the other thing that you might want to consider is the fact that that's a big pool of people, right? So, do you want to be in the big pool or do you want to be the big fish in a smaller pool? So, there might be a game that has a really good, dedicated audience that isn't being catered to at the moment because everybody's gone over to play the next big thing. So, all these sort of things are things to consider as well. And there's some great content creators that are dedicated to very niche things. And there was a book I read a long time ago. I can't remember what the name of the book was, but in digital, niche is the new broad. It's like once upon a time, people, especially like in broadcasting, old school broadcasting like TV, everything was catered to as broader audience as possible because you wanted to get as many eyeballs on TV. But back then, you didn't have the option to click over to literally millions or billions of options, right? Whether it be on Twitch or YouTube or Netflix or wherever. Whereas nowadays, the way that you can engage a really core, dedicated audience and grow might actually be going for that niche, and you stick to that niche and away with it. But look, you also don't have to stick to it.
Look, I agree with that, and I'm gonna use myself as an example when I did used to Twitch stream back in my youth, which was only a few days ago because I am very young. Um, I broke into Twitch streaming with Fallout 4, and that is what I became known for, and I occasionally would play a different game, but I always came back to that community,
Yeah,
and because I had built a strong community there, I didn't have the pressure to play other games because it was popular, because I knew that this was the game that I loved and
yeah,
this is what my community came to see me watch. So don't feel the pressure to, like what Phid said, jump to the next big thing. Just find what you love and, really nourish it, grow it.
yeah, 100%. Agree, agree, agree.
That is so right, because also if you're streaming a game that you might not be particularly comfortable with, it comes out in your stream as well, and that damages you as a brand. Suddenly it does negative things to your credibility, for example,
Mm,
unless you want to be affiliated with one game. But I think the best thing is to just really let that passion, that genuine passion, come out, because that's one of the best things I think that attracts brands to streamers and an audience as well. And you
100%.
know what? you guys were so right about maintaining an online presence. I know it's so taxing. Believe me, it's so taxing to have. You have so many platforms now. You have TikTok, which just came out of the blue just a few years ago. But like you are a streamer, your medium is online, so you have to be visible online as well. And absolutely right, and keeping up to date with all of the trends, not necessarily to jump on it, but to just make sure that you know where the industry is going,
Yeah.
because you have to keep up to date, as up
At,
to
at
date.
least be exploring those trends, right? Like it might not
Right.
be a trend that you need to be on, but explore it. And I think this comes down to something that I say all the time, and it's you should be a student of your craft, right? And I don't care which industry you're in, you need to be a student of your craft. And that means keeping an eye on what is happening around you, what other streamers are doing, what other content creators on other platforms are doing. Like, you don't have to take every idea that they're doing, but just be aware because there might be a small little fragment in something that they're doing that you go, I can work on
Right.
that.
Right. And we have to remember that the world changes so quickly nowadays. I mean, a few years ago, there wasn't even anything like there was no such position as a social media manager, right? You had none of these platforms, years ago. So it is important to keep up to date. As you guys mentioned, our games patch every other weekend. We have to remain patched too, right?
Yeah,
Going on that sort of
that's a
a
great analogy.
right, right. So what do you guys think are the do's and don'ts when talking to a brand? Because this is a really, I feel like somebody needs to write a handbook, especially for younger streamers who may be starting out. But the problem is that these are some things that people don't really talk about. Once again, like we are addressing the things that you can't exactly
Mm.
Google. You can't exactly Google what should I not say on a stream. So, for you guys and your experience, what are the do's and don'ts?
Well, firstly, there is pretty much a handbook now, and it's the GGWP Academy.
Aha, that is correct. That is correct. We do have a
Uh,
handbook.
so sign up. But yeah, the main question though being, what's the do's and don'ts? There are so many don'ts, and I saw Kitty laughing at the moment you asked the question, and anybody that has ever worked for a brand has a list of things that they have seen or that has been done to them that is just like, please don't do that. And I will say the number one thing that annoys me as a brand or as someone that works with brands is a one line DM on Twitter that is just, hey, can I get sponsored? Like,
Oh,
you like, I'm not saying that you cannot get sponsored, but if you're going to approach a brand, you need to be putting across your best foot, right? Best foot forward. It's the same with sending an email. Like my email addresses are usually all over the place. I hand out business cards willy nilly at PAX and other events. And I guarantee you that first week back from those events, I'm getting emails from people that want to work with brands. And I do not ignore any of them. I read every single one of them. But I can tell you right now, the ones that are a simple, hey, I spoke to you at PAX, what do I need to do? Is not enough. I would say what you need to be working on getting together an electronic media kit, which is literally just a PDF that says, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is currently the platforms I'm on, this is how much engagement I've got, and the other one just being like, this is how you can get in touch with me, or even if you've already worked with brands, let us know who they are because we want to know that you can do it.
My least favorite email is someone just saying, "Hey, my name is gamer tag," not their birth name, gamer
Yeah.
tag. I want to be sponsored by you guys. Full stop.
Or yeah,
Now,
or just give free stuff.
yeah,
oh,
and what irks me about this is being in PR, my inbox is nuts
Mm,
sometimes. And I will get to every email because everyone deserves the time.
Right.
However, if you don't give me anything to work with, like your social handles or information about your channel, I can't help you. So, kindly, when reaching out, just give as much information as you can. And what really warms my cold, dead heart, no, I'm kidding. What warms my heart is when people reach out and actually say, "Hey, I specifically want to try X product because I've been using X product and I'm really interested." By showing that product knowledge, we will want to work with you.
100%. I would also say, like, one big mistake that happens all the time. I've had it happen with brands I've worked with, and it's do not approach a brand if you in the last 12 months have talked shit about that brand.
Oof. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Because look,
100%.
yeah, yeah, like brands will look, and if I don't do it as someone who works as at the agency, I guarantee the person at the brand is going to look, and they will do a Twitter search and say, okay, who's this person that's been suggested? Oh yeah, they didn't like that thing that we released last year, and they were very vocal about it. Like, I'm not saying that you have to love everything that a company does, but you do have to be very wary about what you say online, because if you're going to approach that brand later, they will not be friendly.
And something that I have encountered a lot is people don't assume that I myself am within the community. So I hear a lot of things, I
Uh,
see a lot of things, and I'm very aware of what's happening in the OCE. So just be mindful, guys,
I
because we're
think
watching.
that's a really great point, because like most of us who work in the business side of the industry are involved in the community, and the other thing is all of us on the business side are all friends. We may work for rival companies at times, but we are genuinely all friends. Like, we all get together and have a beer when we were allowed to do that. We all hung out. Like, I've known Kitty for years, and I'd say for the last year and a half we worked for rival companies. But doesn't mean we're not mates. So we do communicate things. So if you're going to be talking crap, be very careful who you talk to.
You know what? I'm pretty sure we're live, so I'm pretty sure I could probably go back, check out the stream, and watch how many times I cringed through all of that, just because it was such good advice. And there are just so many. I mean, we hear about it in the communities and the news about streamers who may have crossed brands, like,
Yeah,
and
I,
not
I, I
exactly
would
the best way.
I would argue that if we had more time, we probably could have done a stream just on what not to do. Because did you hear how simple our answer was on how do you approach brands? Very simple, short answers. But we've all seen the horror stories of what not to do.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
know
And
that was just a couple of examples.
especially for streamers, when you have like 4 or 5 hour streams, I mean, you have to make sure that you are still staying professional in every single second, because those are all live. It only takes somebody to clip 10 seconds or something, and suddenly you
Mm.
miss opportunities just because of something that you might not have thought out fully. So
Can I just add something else in there for the things not to do as a streamer? And it's not so much not a way of not contacting a brand, but it's just things that you genuinely shouldn't be doing on social, because brands will shy away from it. And um, uh, it should be obvious, but it's, keep any racist, sexist, or bigoted opinions that you have, either one, to yourself, or just don't have them. But look, these are things that people we do all search up. That and just hot takes sometimes can be really problematic. You don't have to have an opinion on everything publicly. Sometimes those opinions are best kept to yourself.
100%, 200%, please. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you brought it out and you said it. I feel like that was like an elephant in the room over there. And this is all part of building your brand as a streamer, as a personality. And this is actually where your career eventually takes off and where the foundations of your career will grow from. So how important is this brand, how you present yourself to one's success?
It's everything, everything. And just remember, your brand isn't just your logo. Your brand is everything from the visuals that you have, whether it be color schemes, logos, and the assets that you have on your Twitch stream or on your YouTube or on your social media. But it's also your personality as well. Like it's catchphrases, it's the attitude you have when you are online. Like that personal brand is literally everything that you're putting out there, and all of those sometimes need to be thought about, and or not sometimes they need to be thought about. Like I'm not saying you should be engineering every single element of who you are online, but sometimes as you're going, your audience will pick up on things that they love that you do, and you can just sort of go, okay, cool, they love that. I'm going to adopt that as being something that I repeatedly sort of continue to do as my part of my brand.
Something that I think would be helpful to a lot of you listening right now is really write your own bio about yourself, because this will really help you keep your consistency of how you present yourself, and also remind you that it's okay to be yourself, because that's what's going to attract people in. And when they're, you know, streaming can get so saturated. Sometimes you think, do I need to change myself? Do I need to be more like them? You don't. Just really come back to that bio you've written about yourself and just really reflect on that. Don't get too caught up in it.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I will say this though as well though, when it comes to a good visual brand as well, I have literally had a great YouTube account or a great Twitch account grab my attention because it's got really good,
Mhm.
consistent visual branding on it as well. But if you go to a YouTube account that's just really well thought out in how they do their visual branding and really consistent, it just looks miles ahead of someone who just does any old thumbnail as their video image, and it will stand out, and you just think this person's got it together. They're professional. They're already on the right track.
I mean, it kind of speaks as though like first impressions last, and
Mhm.
when you look at somebody's feed, it will immediately leave that little bit of an impression on your audience. And
Mm.
this could be your YouTube channel, this could be your stream, but it does play a role on whether or not they click your video. So I'm so glad that you brought that up and brought that into the conversation. We talked a lot about how everybody's journey, streaming journey, is very different, and there really is no cookie cutter solution to everything. But are there certain traits that you guys would say successful creators have in common?
Uh, Look, I think we've sort of touched on the similar traits that I've seen, and it's just entertaining, engaging, know how to build a community around themselves and engage their community, whether that's on stream or off stream. Those are just traits where you just see people who sort of have all of those sort of keys in place or pieces in place. They almost always are successful.
As well as consistency. I think a lot of those streamers who do succeed really have a tight knit, most of the time, schedule.
Mm.
So they get to a point where their community doesn't have to look at their Twitter to see when they're going live. And you'll notice a lot of the bigger streamers, they don't need to tweet that they're going live, or those
Yes,
bigger communities, because they're ready. They're already, waiting in the chat.
exactly. 100%.
That is a really good point. I mean, a consistency really does play a role in building that audience, because like I remember I have a friend of mine that recently hit, I believe, 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Well
And
done.
yeah, and he got the plaque and everything. And he did mention that, like, in 3 years of creating content, he has never missed a week where he didn't upload something. And
Mm.
that was like,
And
just
that's
thinking
hard
about
work,
it.
man. Like
It
anyone who
is.
ever looks at a content creator and says you're lucky, it is not luck. It is not
Yes.
luck. Like there may be lucky breaks that happen along the way, but it is no luck. The success that people have as content creators, it is hard work. It is putting thought into everything you do. It's making sure that you're consistently uploading or consistently streaming. It's like, look at the best in the world on YouTube is PewDiePie, right? Um, when he takes a couple of weeks off to go to Japan or wherever he goes to, he has pre-recorded stuff and scheduled it to go out while he's away. Yeah, and that's literally what most of the big YouTubers are doing. It's a bit different with Twitch. If you're going to take a break, you need to let your people know you're going to come back, and that's a whole other discussion about the pitfalls of taking a break on Twitch as well. But um, you know,
That is right. And you know what? We talked about, creators like PewDiePie and all of these super successful streamers and, content creators, and eventually our goals, our goals, everybody's goals.
hmm.
What does it look like from there? Because we did mention a little bit about how much hard work goes into building something like this. Can you walk us through from the brand side, from somebody who is an influencer marketing? How does it look like from the other end? What's the best campaign like you sort of worked on? What's the budgeting like? What's the process like? And what kind of outcome are you guys expecting?
I will tell you right now, the best campaign I've done is not the best budget I've had. Look, the best budgets you can do amazing things, but sometimes when you're limited by budget, that's when you get super creative. That's when you can reach out to someone you may not have reached out to as well, because you know that the budget isn't going to fit the person that you may have really wanted to have on this campaign. But as we get super creative, so I've done some amazingly creative and awesome campaigns in the last few years. But I would say the coolest ones I've done have been with Warner Music. It's the record label that I've worked with for the last 3 years as a client. And almost every campaign I've done with them has been super cool because they've allowed us to be super creative with it. The one that stands out to me at the moment is we did the Australian um, premiere of Skrillex's last single, and the challenge with that one wasn't so much the funding or anything behind it. It was the fact that we had to build up hype for a song that we weren't allowed to announce. So we weren't allowed to mention Skrillex's name because it was a super secret release. I wasn't even allowed to use Skrillex's name and emails between the two companies. So we couldn't. The talent who were working on the campaign didn't know who they were promoting at first. We weren't allowed to mention the song. All we had to do was build this campaign, which was hyping up to something. So we took advantage of the fact of that, and it was we built up this long campaign over I think it was like 3 or 4 nights to some event. I'll try and find a video of it and share it online, but it was really cool. And then the payoff was the fact that it was the Australian premiere of the music video and this single, and it really popped off, and it was so cool. That's just one of the cool ones, but any client who allows us to guide them and do something that we just know that the audience is going to resonate with, rather than coming to us and say we want to do something boring that we probably could have done on TV. They're always the cool ones.
So I want to take you all into the PR room of what happens with our campaigns. So something I want to remind you all of, especially like all you streamers and content creators, is that every campaign has a different objective. And sometimes that campaign isn't about the biggest streamer with the most concurrence or the biggest reach. Sometimes it's about, UGC, so user generated content, about just building a community, or sometimes it's just, yeah, just getting content. So don't be worried that, because I often see a lot of streamers go when they comment on tweets, oh, I'm not big enough. You don't have to be big enough for a campaign, because one of the campaigns I recently worked on was a UGC campaign. So I got to reach out to a whole lot of smaller streamers who are more grassroots. And honestly, it was so fantastic to build a relationship with them and also have that experience with their first campaign where they learned so much of, what insights they need to send to us after the campaign, how to follow a brief, how to create the content. So there's a lot that goes into every campaign, no matter the scale, but it's not always about the biggest and the best.
Well, Kitty and Phid, thank you so much for taking us in the room where it happened, so to speak. We do have some questions coming in from our chat. I think we do have time for this.
Mm.
Here is one. I know a lot of value came from creators with numbers and CCV and reach in the algorithm, but what about when you're a creator with less numbers but a very unique point of difference that brands want to work with? Your numbers are low, but your value is unique. How do you put a price on that? And what is fair? This is a really good question, I feel, for a lot of new creators too.
Yeah, so the price thing is really interesting because it does come down to, and look, I'm a massive proponent of the fact that you shouldn't be doing something 100% for free, but you do have to weigh up as a content creator, especially if your reach isn't as high, like, is there going to be a benefit to you as a content creator with working with this brand as well? And I'm not saying that it's a situation where it's exposure, but sometimes you need to build a portfolio before you can go to those bigger brands that do have those budgets, right? You need to be able to prove that, look, I worked with this brand, I did this, it was super awesome, these are the results I got from it. But you might be somebody who can create super unique, interesting content, and as Kitty said, as for UGC, that's amazing because that brand can then take that and put it on their own platform. So, like, you might have only gotten 30 concurrent viewers on your stream, but that um, the clip can then go onto the brand's Twitter account or YouTube, or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, which may have 30K plus, if not more. And that's where the brand gets the benefit because they get some really dope content with a genuine content creator who's made something really interesting. And that's where the benefit is for the brand, and that's where the benefit also is for the content creator.
So I just want to give you an example of how you would approach this situation if I was in your shoes with the knowledge that I have. So if you're approaching a brand, don't just say you want to work with them. Actually list what you can provide as a content creator and then ask. So say, for example, this is a mic. Hello. I just want to do ASMR. Sorry, I got distracted. So approach approach the brand and say, I would love to sample one of the mics. I can do a review on YouTube. I can take some really nice photos for user generated content that you can share. I give you permission to share on your socials. Can we work together? And most likely it will be a yes, to be honest with you, because you're offering value, you're offering clear communications, and list all your socials. Then, what you do with that content after you do that a few times, you then build yourself a really nice portfolio of examples of work, and then you can start approaching companies for paid work.
Hmm.
However, when I say approaching companies for paid work, don't say, hey, I can do a post, it's $300. No, no. Approach the company and say, hey, this is my portfolio. I'm looking to move into more paid partnerships and campaigns. Please keep me in mind for projects.
Exactly, exactly. And that's because going back to exactly what Kitty said when she let us into the room where it happens earlier, is brands do have particular budgets for particular projects, and while you may be able to provide something super awesome for $300, that budget might not stretch to be able to pay everybody $300, right? So this is a situation where you do have to be willing to negotiate. Don't undersell yourself, but be willing to negotiate. And there is a payoff there sometimes where they may be providing you with some goods that are going to make your stream better. So you might be going, okay, cool, I'm getting a new microphone for ASMR that I've been wanting. So I don't need the $300. I'll take a $50 or $100. That's just arbitrary numbers, but you know.
That's right. And I think it's important to factor in everything that you might benefit from with this partnership. It could be reach, additional reach as you partner with this brand. It could also be adding to your portfolio. It could be giving you experience as well. Those things are also part of what the partnership can offer in terms of value. It's not you I know we did say that this was about money, but it's not always about money. That's just oversimplifying everything.
But
And
look, it's all part of the path to money as well sometimes.
That's true. That's true. Um, Another good question over here. So, a bit of real talk coming in here from another audience member. Do you feel that mature audience language is a turnoff for possible companies when marketing yourself?
Yes, but so it's a yes, but there are some companies that are very conservative. Sometimes it's our job on the business side as well to educate the companies that this industry can be a bit colorful in its language, right? And that's our job to sort of sell that onto the brands that want to work in this space sometimes. But there are some times where the brand is just like, no, we can't associate with that. But that's where we will go to content creators that are on the same platform that are a bit more PG. But there are definitely also some brands out there that are willing to really push the boundaries as well. So it's a yes and a no situation in
I agree.
that.
I think it's a risk. I mean, you could argue that it's part of your personal brand.
Mm,
A lot of gamers,
mm.
just naturally are well versed in many many
Yeah,
expletives, but it should be
and
worth. Go
I
ahead.
should say, just sorry to cut you off, but to add to that, it's not just your content on stream and on video as well, right? It's also your tweets as well, and that like somebody may be a PG streamer, but dropping f bombs left, right, and center on Twitter. And the other thing is, and I don't want to discourage people who do this, but if you're somebody that is engaged in something like OnlyFans or whatever, that there can also turn off some really conservative brands. I personally think brands shouldn't be having an issue with it. We're in a time now where that is accepted by the community as being it's a you do you situation, you know. But there will be brands out there that will be turned away from that. So that's just something to put some thought into as well.
Right. And like we mentioned, there are some brands who will take that risk, but you also have to remember all of the other brands that you might be alienating
Hmm.
because of that. So I think like we keep mentioning earlier, it's really up to you, but it's a big risk. Um, Another question. This one is in particular is for Kitty. This sounds like it came from me actually. How do you get over imposter syndrome and approach brands?
Oh, you hit me right in the feels with this one. Damn. So, look, I am a big believer in self affirmations, and it was something that I was taught at a very young age. Alongside affirmations, it's really important you build a really strong network of friends, whether they are in the industry or not in the industry. It's really important that you continue to lift each other up. And you just have to remember that I hate saying this because it's so cliche, but you do miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And it's all a learning curve. So just keep chipping away and just keep being yourself and being happy, just keep loving yourself. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. To add to that, there was something I was once told when I was. This is when I first started getting into radio and media. but it still resonates 100% today. Is if you don't blow your own trumpet, nobody else will.
I love that. I love that. I feel like I want to start using that now. And you know what? I love what you said about just the right support system can do wonders. And you know what? I think it's important to remember also that the esports and gaming industry is really young. I feel like we're all imposters in some way. I mean, I definitely feel like an imposter like 110% of the time. But I think the important thing is to just make sure that every experience that you get, you are just growing from it. Then you're not that much of an imposter anymore. Just constantly learning, as Kitty said. Another question coming in over here from our chat. Would it be weird to say that for streams, my language will resonate with whatever game I'm playing? For example, if it's Mario Kart or Animal Crossing, then you don't swear or put in any expletives. But if it's something like Halo or Assassin's Creed, then you can change the language a bit. This is an interesting question.
Oh, dude, 100%. I agree. I also think this comes down to that personal brand you've built around yourself as well, right? Like, get someone like, I know I've used a lot of big names tonight, but I think this is just the ones that people know. But if you have a look at like a Doctor Disrespect, right? He uses a hell of a lot of colorful language. He is aggressive. He could be arguably accused of being toxic, but it's all part of his brand as well. So I would say if you've made that part of your brand, as long as you're not being harmful in that language you're using, I think it can be fine. But um, I still think it does come back to exactly what we talked about earlier: is just be aware that you may close yourself off from some brands, and um, yeah. But going back to the games, yes.
And look, what you can do as well, which is really handy, is when you set up your stream schedule, you can actually have, 18 plus nights where you specifically stream more mature content. Like, say, on a Sunday evening, you do Animal Crossing. I love Animal Crossing. And, it's a really mellow afternoon stream where everyone's welcome and you don't have that mature warning on. Where, maybe a Thursday, Friday night, and you're like, mature warning, I'm going to
We're
be cursing and cussing a
popping
lot,
wine and swearing.
from bottles,
Yeah.
getting litty. So,
Is that what the kids say now? Is that what the kids are saying now? Are they still
yeah,
saying that?
yeah,
Yeah.
getting lit. So, you know,
We're
um,
old.
yeah. So just you can do you can do a stream schedule. So then you're still not holding back from using colorful language. You just up and change, adapt.
Great advice.
That is such a good tip, and you know what, it also at least puts a barrier on what kind of content you'll be creating for certain
Mm.
audiences, and a more mature audience. That is such a good tip. So I believe we have wrapped up our session for tonight. Kitty and Fid, thank you guys so much. If people have additional questions, if people want to be sponsored and send that dreaded tweet to you, where do they find you, and how do they get in touch with you? Let's start with you, Fid.
Yeah, everything down here. I'm Phid McAwesome on literally every platform, and also at GGWP. That I'm working there now, so you can hit up GGWP, and uh, we as a company can answer your questions as well. But and the other thing I'd just say, if you want more advice or if you need more help getting your start in the industry or even further in your career, hit up GGWP Academy. The app's on iOS and Android. So
I am Kitty Can't Even on every social channel. So please, my DMs are always open if you want to chat. Happy to jump on Discord. I just love a chat, to be honest with you. I can't help it. Love to have a ban. Um, if you want to contact me at work, just DM me and I'll give you my email. And then we can start a conversation from there.
Wonderful. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't liked and followed GGWP Academy on all the socials, please do, because if you have any additional questions from tonight, be sure that we can answer them all, post interview or post live rather. Kitty and Fid, thank you so much. I learned so much. I know that our audience did as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And I have been Mika over here. Thank you so much for having me as your
Where can
host for
people follow
tonight.
you, Mika?
Oh, I
Mm.
am at Mika Fabs. That is at MikaFabs everywhere. I just basically made it as simple on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on
And there's a
Twitch.
lesson here before we finish. Brand consistency in your handles across all your social media.
Yes, yes. Did you know I just actually fixed that all up a few days ago? So yay! I decided to make it easier for everybody, and so should you, as Fid advised. Thank you all so much, Kitty and Fid. Have a good night. Have a good night, everybody, and stay tuned to GGWP Academy for more
Thank you.
insights from the best of the best in the gaming world. Thank y'all.
Bye.